Hi, this is Shambhavi. Welcome to my weekly podcast about spirituality, love, death, devotion, and waking up while living in a messy world. The Satsang with Shambhavi podcast is recorded live each week with students of our nonprofit community, Jayakula. For more information and to find out about attending a satsang, visit jayakula.org. Thanks for listening. Much love to you, wherever and however you are. This Dharma talk has a title, You Are What You Eat, Unless You Have Good Digestion. So if you have good digestion and you eat a donut one time, it won't really have any negative impact on you. If you have impaired digestion and you eat a donut, you might feel kind of yucky, but eventually you'll get over it. But whether you have good digestion or impaired digestion, if you keep eating donuts every day, you're going to end up sick. Because nobody can healthily digest that kind of food every day for years on end. It's going to have health impacts. It's going to have more health impacts if you're already experiencing weak digestion, and fewer if you have good digestion, but it's still going to have impacts. Eventually, even though you feel sick, you're going to want the donut. And when you really are in the disease process, when you've really kicked off a disease process, you're going to want the donut more than you want good health. So, as people, as humans, wanting to wake up and live a good life and be able to express ourselves and not be too beleaguered by compulsion and fixation, we have to pay attention to what food we are eating. Because we're eating a lot of food, and I mean media, relationships, physical environments, work environments, natural environments, urban environments, all kinds of environments, people, and media that are hard for us to digest. So if we're around a situation or a person for a short period of time that is hard for us to digest, it's just like the donut. If we have good digestion, in other words, if our channels are open, our hearts are a little bit more open, we have to hang out in a not so great environment for a while, or with people who are deep into fixation for a while, it's really going to not have very much impact on us. Right? It's going to be fine. And of course, the goal of spiritual life is that we can digest everything. I mean, our goal is not to just be able to be in certain situations and feel good, or with certain people and feel good. Our goal is to be resting in our real nature, feeling open-hearted all the time in all circumstances. Most of us are, if not all of us, are not going to reach that goal. Because that's enlightenment, you know. Anandamayama could be around all kinds of people doing all kinds of things, or someone like Amma, the hugging saint. You know, they have capacities beyond what most of us are going to have in this lifetime. But even though we're not going to reach that condition, probably, I mean, you could surprise me, but I'll just speak for myself. Even though I'm not going to reach that condition, I know what the beacon is. So I know what the goal is, even if I'm never going to reach it. It's fine. It serves me to know that the fruit of this practice carried to the nth degree is not to be shutting myself off from others and from situations. However, knowing that and knowing that my psychic digestion or my literal digestion is not fully awake, I have to pay attention to what I am eating. That means that we want to have work environments that are not sucking the life energy out of us and causing us to have to be in a lot of gross situations. Energetically gross is what I mean. Around people who are in a heavy state of unconscious behavior. Because it's not just that those situations are unpleasant, over a long period of time. It's that they actually affect our energy, and they drag us down because we don't have the apparatus yet in our heart, basically, to be able to digest those things. It means that we want to live with people who are doing something to subtleize their experience, living more according to their values and an idea of goodness, people who have some idea of goodness, people who are trying to be more open-hearted, people who are working on their condition. Because if we're day after day, week after week, month after month, around for a lot of our time, people who are just going full-blown with their various karmas and fixations and not really self-reflecting or trying to interrupt that, we are eventually going to be affected depending on how strong our digestion is. We're going to get into a heavier, less subtle condition ourselves eventually. This was one of the hardest lessons I learned as a young practitioner who thought that she should be able to digest everything and anything, and some sort of spiritual bypassy attitude that I had. And I was living with a roommate from my kula at the time, and the situation was completely unsuitable. I mean, this was someone who watched soap operas for many hours a day, didn't do very much practice, acted out a lot, didn't really think much about the welfare of other people. I mean, that was the condition she was in. I shouldn't have been living with her, and it was very hard, and it affected me really hard physically. I became ill. And eventually I did leave, but before I left, I went through a struggle with myself about how I should have been able to deal with this situation. But the fact is, I just wasn't dealing with it. I couldn't digest it. So part of our skill set as practitioners is that we have to try our best to be in circumstances that support our awakening and not our fixations. And sometimes this means making hard decisions, right? And we have to be very honest with ourselves about what we really can digest and what we really can't, and what different kinds of relationships and environments and media are doing to us. So being in dense, gross relationships with others where there's really not much supporting our path brings us down. Watching a lot of media where dense, gross relationships are the currency, soap operas, reality TV shows. If you're going to watch media, watch something intelligent. Watch something creative. Watch something smart. Watch something imaginative. Watch something lighter. Don't watch things that just recapitulate all the dense and grossness that's all around us. That isn't good food. So we have to eat just as we pay attention to our dinner. I mean, a lot of people in this community are paying good attention to their actual food, their literal food, and trying to eat at least minimally according to Ayurveda or some dietary guidelines that support our physical health. You also have to support your energetic health and your mental health by not absorbing day after day after day stupid things. So I ask you to think about that, because it means choosing to be in environments and workplaces that are at least minimally based in some kind of value, right? Value for other beings. Because if it's not, it's going to drag you down. It means choosing friendships and people to live with and love partners who are supportive in not just, oh yes, okay honey, that's okay, but not feeding your fixations, not using you to support their fixations, who are sort of aligned with you in some way or another, in a real way, in a mature way. And it also means watching our media, because we are absorbing an incredible amount of media every day. I mean, it is insane. And if you spend a lot of time engaged in watching really dense, gross things on media that have really no actual value when seen in the context of a path of waking up, you're really deadening your system. You're deadening your senses. So please think about those things.